What's going on, guys? Austin Zaback here, and today we're going to talk about my real estate investing plan to make $5 million in 2021. Now, if you're brand new to my channel, typically we're talking about real estate, the stock market, how to make money, save money, invest your money, pretty much all things business, finance, and real estate. Now, really quick before we get started, I want you all to know that I am a very normal kid, okay? I'm 25 years old. I did not have a lot of money growing up. I didn't grow up in some fancy household where things were just handed to me. I didn't win the lottery, nothing like that. I actually grew up in my grandparents' garage in Gilbert, Arizona, and pretty much everything I've done this far has been 100% self-made. And just like anybody else, I have, a lot of self-limiting beliefs, I have self-doubts, I have fears, but ultimately, I've spent the last decade, or maybe a little bit less, but right around a decade, really working towards what I'm about to share with you in today's video. So I got into real estate the day I turned 18 years old, and I became a realtor or a real estate agent when I turned 19 years old. And when I got into real estate at 18, I didn't have a lot of money saved up. I actually just got done working a job at Sears Home Services where I cleaned air conditioners and air ducts. I maybe had about $20,000 to my name, and I'd spent a while saving that money. So I didn't have a lot of knowledge about the real estate industry, and I certainly didn't have very good credit because, well, I just didn't have much credit history at all. I also didn't have a lot of money, obviously, so basically I was pretty much new to the game. But at 18 years old, I learned about a thing called wholesaling real estate, and that was the very initial thing that I got into before I pursued a lot of other avenues in real estate, which I'm going to share with you in today's video. Now, if you're not familiar with what wholesaling real estate is, it's just simply where you go out and you do marketing to sellers where you get properties below market value because the seller is in some sort of distressed situation, and then instead of actually buying the property, you turn around and you sell the contract to a cash buyer for a small profit. And this is really neat for me because, again, I was 18 years old, right? I didn't have a lot of money, I didn't have credit history, I didn't have a lot of knowledge, again, of the industry. I pretty much didn't know anything about anything. But I also didn't have a lot to lose. I mean, at the end of the day, I was just an 18-year-old kid with maybe 10 or 20 grand in the bank, and there was really nothing I had to lose. And over time, I eventually built my wholesaling company or my wholesaling operation to where it is at today. During that time, I obviously was a real estate agent, so I helped buyers and sellers all around the state of Arizona buy and sell real estate. I eventually got into flipping real estate, and I also started buying rental properties, and as of very recently, I started buying Airbnb properties. But again, this took time and it didn't happen overnight, so I want you to know first and foremost that if you're watching the video and you're looking at the industry like it's just this big, massive industry and all of the people in it have all of this knowledge, they have all of the wisdom, they know everything about everything, just know there's always room in any market to get into, and the real estate market, along with pretty much every other market, it is not saturated. There will always be room for you to get into the industry. So I'm just gonna go ahead and break everything down for you as to my exact investing strategy as it pertains primarily to real estate investing for 2021 and how I anticipate and how I plan to make about $5 million, give or take. And we're gonna jump into that right after you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. So fast forward to today, I actually now have an office in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I've built an incredible team that helps me with everything. So first and foremost, I would recommend, if you're watching the video, just know that eventually you're gonna have to create a team, right? You cannot and probably will not make millions of dollars or ever become a millionaire without a phenomenal team, because one person at the end of the day can only just do so much. So now basically I'm gonna break down each individual investment strategy inside of the real estate investing business, the first one being wholesaling real estate. Now, wholesaling real estate is a beautiful thing because you kind of get an opportunity to not only learn about the industry, you get an opportunity to figure out what home values are, and you also get an opportunity to really dial in your marketing, because no matter what you want to do in the real estate industry, you have to find good deals, right? It doesn't matter whether you want to flip a house, whether you want to find a rental property, an Airbnb property, or you want to wholesale or anything of the sort, you pretty much have to start with marketing. So fast forward to today, I have multiple people on my amazing team, and we're marketing every single day. Now, our marketing efforts have definitely increased since I was 18 years old, okay? So fast forward to today, myself and my incredible team, we do quite a bit of marketing, okay? We're marketing typically to sellers, right? We're marketing for distressed sellers because because again, no matter what in the real estate industry you want to do, you have to buy low and you have to sell high. And even if you don't plan on selling, if you plan on keeping the property as an Airbnb property or rental property, whatever the case is, you have to typically get a good deal on the property. Now, you can definitely pay market value, and a lot of times that's perfectly fine when you factor in the appreciation over the long haul if you plan on owning it for a long period of time, the depreciation on your taxes along with many other tax benefits, and also the cash flow. But I personally like to go ahead and make a little bit of money right from the get-go by just buying it at a good deal, because then pretty much day one I have instant equity in the deal. So we're marketing to distressed sellers all the time, okay? And typically we're marketing to sellers that are in a probate situation or a foreclosure situation. They're behind on their taxes, maybe their house is water damaged, is fire damaged, they lost their job. Whatever the case is, we're constantly marketing to sellers that are in more likely distressed situations. Then what basically happens after that is we sort and we sift through all of those leads to find the most motivated sellers, and then we solve their problem by giving them a cash offer. Now, to not keep the video boring and to just keep it really straightforward and break everything down for you, my plan ultimately is to get to a point where we're wholesaling anywhere from 30 to 50 deals a month. Now again, on a wholesale deal, we're typically not making a ton of money because we don't want to ultimately charge so much money to the cash buyer that we don't leave any meat on the bone, because typically the cash buyer, they're either buying it to flip it or they're buying it to add it to their rental portfolio. So we can only make a certain amount of money before there's no meat on the bone for the end buyer, and then the end buyer doesn't even want to buy the deal because it is no longer a good deal. So I would say on average we make about $10,000 per wholesale deal. And if I go on the low end of the spectrum and assume that we only do about 30 deals a month in 2021 at $10,000 per deal, that would be about $3.6 million in 2021 from our wholesaling business alone. Now, obviously we have marketing expenses, we have employees, we have an office, and we have different things that we obviously have to pay for. But what I will say is this: with the wholesaling business, your marketing expenses and overall your business expenses in general are a lot lower than a lot of other industries out there. So for the purpose of the video, I'm gonna keep it really simple, and we're just gonna be talking about gross income, okay? Again, our gross will probably be a lot more than 5 million, which will allow the net income, AKA the amount of money we take home at the end of the day, to be about that $5 million mark. And in order to get that many deals a month, we have to do quite a bit of marketing, okay? But again, we're doing marketing that doesn't cost a lot of money, such as cold calling and text messaging and doing ringless voicemail, a lot of Google pay-per-click and stuff like that. But again, we really keep our marketing budget to a minimum, and you'd be very surprised if I told you how much we spent on marketing to make that amount of money. You would probably go ahead and smash the like button for the algorithm, and then you would definitely consider getting into the world of wholesaling real estate. Now here's where it gets really interesting, and here's another reason that I love wholesaling real estate, okay? A lot of the deals that we come across actually end up being really good deals where I look at them and I'm like, wow, we should probably just go ahead and buy that ourselves. Then we should either flip it, right? And do what they call like a fix and flip, like typically what you see on HGTV, like Chip and Joanna Gaines, or like, what you see like Tariq El Moussa do. All of these different shows essentially that you've ever watched on HGTV, they're typically flipping properties, right? They're buying a property at a discount below market value, they're renovating the property, and then they're putting the property back on the market, they're listing it with a real estate agent, and then they're selling it to an end buyer, typically a first-time home buyer that is gonna buy it with a conventional or an FHA loan. So out of the 30 deals that we wholesale, what we'll do is we'll buy about 5 of those, and we'll go ahead and we'll flip them. Now what this enables us to do is it enables us to profit a little bit more money. Not only that, honestly, it's a ton of fun, and I really love the real estate investing industry, and there's nothing I love more than flipping real estate. I really love buying a house and seeing the house, for what it could be and not for what it is. So I love to flip properties, okay? Not only do you make a little bit more money, but honestly, it's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun to buy a property that's, beaten up, and it's just, maybe the old owner they couldn't afford to take care of it, or they didn't want to take care of it, or whatever the case is. And I love really seeing the property for what it could be and not what it currently is. It's just a ton of fun to me, honestly. And we get to go in there and we get to decorate it and we get to design it. Then we get to do all new flooring and all new paint and all new cabinets cabinets and countertops and the whole 9 yards, and then we get to go ahead and turn around and sell it to an end buyer, probably a family that's really going to enjoy it over the next 30 years. Now, not only is it a ton of fun, but obviously we make more money, right? And I would say our average flip is about a $25,000 profit. Now, obviously we flip properties and make a lot more money than $25,000, but for the sake of making today's video, about $25,000 I would say is a very conservative number to really paint a picture for you on what is possible in the real estate industry. So just do the math, okay? If we flip 5 properties a month at $25,000 a property, we'll make on average about $125,000 a month just flipping properties, okay? Now that comes out to about $1.5 million in 2021. So just right there alone, you have $3.6 million wholesaling properties, and you have another $1.5 million flipping properties. You're already at about $5.1 million in 2021, assuming that we hit the goal. And by the way, I'm not just blowing smoke, okay? You know, look, we basically looked at our numbers and we've looked at our analytics, and I've seen, okay, you know, these are very doable numbers for us. We literally wholesaled a lot of properties in 2020 during a pandemic, during probably one of the craziest years that I've ever lived through in business, and ultimately we got very close to this goal last year, so I definitely think in 2021 we'll achieve the goal no problem. But let's just go ahead and dive into more of a longer term investment strategy that is going to continue to pay us, you know, pretty much more and more every single year over the next several decades. So out of the 30 properties that we're going to wholesale, the 5 that we're going to flip, you know, we're going to look at a property or 2 a month that we're going to take down and keep as the rental property. Obviously, we all know that if you have that much cash flow coming in, you've got to put the money somewhere. And as I talk about on my YouTube channel all the time, there's no point in keeping that money in the bank because interest rates are just really crappy. And inflation is going to ultimately eat your money alive, because if your money's just sitting in the bank at an average of like a 3% inflation rate over the last 50 years, you're not going to make any money at all. As a matter of fact, you're going to lose money. So we never want to keep our money in the bank. Now, we obviously want an emergency fund. We want, you know, anywhere from 3 to 6 months in just money sitting aside to cover all of our expenses in case we ever have another year like 2020. And honestly, after 2020, we might want 6 to 12 months in expenses, because after seeing what could happen out of the blue, I can only imagine what could potentially happen in the future. And although that never probably should or won't happen, and I really hope it doesn't, I just want to, you know, be prepared just in case. But again, we're gonna have a lot of money left over, and so that money left over, obviously we're gonna do multiple things with it, because I think that diversification is crucial to anybody's success and to building wealth. We're going to invest in things like the stock market, in good mutual funds, in good ETFs. We're also going to invest in good Roth IRAs, 401ks, but obviously, primarily in real estate. But when we do more of a long-term investing strategy in real estate, I don't want to flip properties because it's kind of just like a high-paying job at the end of the day. I don't want to wholesale forever because, again, we definitely make good money, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely a little bit of a high-paying job. So what I want to do is I want to take a large portion of that money and I want to buy rental properties. And that is obviously just the first step to long-term wealth. And that number will ultimately eventually compound to be such a massive net worth and such a massive cash cow, along with appreciation and depreciation, that honest and truly, I could probably retire by the time I was 30, although I never will, because I love to work and I just love the game. It's kind of like playing Monopoly, right? You pass go, you collect $200, you buy properties, hopefully you end up with Boardwalk and Park Place, you charge rent every time somebody lands on it, and ultimately you end up the winner of the game. And that is what I want to do, right? I want to end up the winner of life. I want to end up, you know, eventually being able to take care of my family, take care of my loved ones, take care of my employees, all the people that work for me, donate to charities, give back, and ultimately change the world. So that is what we're going to do with the additional cash flow that we make from all of the properties that we're wholesaling and flipping. We're going to buy rentals. And again, like I said, our goal in 2021 is to buy anywhere from 1 to 2 rental properties a month. Now, what I really want to do with our rental properties is I want to focus on a couple of key components. Not only do I want to buy them below market value so I gain equity day one, but I also want to make sure that our cash flow is cash flow positive. positive. Now, what that essentially means is that the average rental rates in the neighborhood I want to see are about $500 more at a very minimum than the total PITI, which stands for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Because if I can gain equity day one, I can put enough money down to where I've got quite a bit of equity, to where if the market ever took a short-term dip or something bad ever happened, I have enough equity to cover all of my bases, and then I can cash flow on top of that. Then ultimately, in the long run, I should be safe from the banks ever calling the notes like they did back in 2008. So if you do the math and we go ahead and we buy 1 to 2 rental properties a month, by the end of the year, I'm just gonna average it out and say we acquire another 15 to 20 rental properties. Now, if we acquired 20 rental properties in the year 2021, and again, that is not assuming compounding growth, which I think we'll definitely achieve in probably Q3 and Q4, so that number will probably be a little bit higher. And you've seen this all over, right? You've seen, the compound effect by Darren Hardy, right? I'll show you on the screen. You've heard about, the compounding effect being the 8th wonder of the world. So obviously I'm not gonna factor that in, but if we did factor it in, the numbers I'm about to tell you will definitely exponentially grow, probably Q3 and Q4, and then we'll continue to grow into 2022, and so on and so forth. But again, if we assume that we acquire 20 rental properties in 2021, let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. Well, first, let's assume that I get all 20 rental properties with a minimum of about $50,000 worth of equity day one, because I'm doing all of my marketing direct to seller. Therefore, I'm buying all of my properties below market value. So assuming I gain $50,000 worth of equity, again, at a minimum, day one, then over 20 rental properties, we're looking at $1 million of equity, literally just alone by the end of the year. Now, also, if we assume that we get a minimum of $500 a month in passive income cash flow on top of all of our expenses, and we're gonna assume by the end of the year, we've created an additional $10,000 a month worth of cash flow, which is about $120,000 a year. And again, I'm not factoring in appreciation or depreciation or anything like that. And over the last decade, we've saw appreciation in Arizona alone at like over 10% a year on average, which is literally just insane. But even if appreciation was 6 or 7% a year, that would be a significant amount of money that would compound over time. So obviously over 30 years, our tenants are gonna be paying down our mortgages, which is obviously just going to increase our equity every single month. And over the course of 30 years, along with appreciation, we're gonna pretty much be in a really good position. Now, 85251, which is an area code next to where we live, is actually a really good area code for Airbnb properties. So what we've started to do as of very recently is we've started to collect or to essentially obtain or acquire Airbnb properties. And I would love by the end of the year to obtain or acquire about another 5 additional Airbnb properties. Now, these Airbnb properties are something else, okay? And if you're not familiar, Airbnb actually just IPO'd on the stock market, okay? On the New York Stock Exchange about a week or so ago. So this is something that I really see being a long-term play. I really think that over the next couple of decades, a lot of people are gonna start really going and Airbnb properties as opposed to just staying at a hotel. And I would say on average, if we buy a property for about $300,000 to $400,000, we'll make a gross income of about $50,000 to $60,000 a year per property. Now, I've run the numbers 100 times. I've talked to all of my buddies that own a bunch of Airbnb properties in the same zip code. I've done all of my research, and after everything's all said and done, we should net about $30,000 to $40,000 per Airbnb property. And that's obviously after Airbnb takes their cut. That is after the cleaner gets their cut, which is a pretty big cost. And that is after, obviously, we have to fix anything that goes wrong with the property. So when you look at about $30,000 to $40,000 a year of net income times 5 properties by the end of 2021, it's definitely looking like a pretty good number. You're looking at another $150,000 to $200,000 a year of additional income. And again, I'm not factoring in the fact that we're gonna be paying down the mortgage, and I'm also not factoring in the appreciation over the long haul. And last but not least, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm a real estate agent where we help buyers and sellers all over the valley buy and sell real estate. And my goal in 2021, along with my team, obviously, is to sell $100 million worth of real estate. That is obviously a very hefty goal, and I get I'm only 25, and I've only been doing this for about 5 or 6 years now, but I really do believe that we can achieve the goal. Now, $100 million worth of traditional real estate on average, and I'm just gonna keep it really simple for today's video, should net me personally or the company about $1 million at a minimum. And I'm happy to make more videos on any one particular subject, so definitely just let me know if that's something something that you would like to see. And there's also some other things that we're starting to dabble in as well, such as going ahead and syndicating real estate, developing real estate, and we're definitely looking really hard into multifamily real estate where we can get multiple doors under one roof with one loan. And that is a world that I'm very interested in, and I'm just starting to dip my toes in the water of some of the bigger real estate plays that we can get into over the next couple of years. Obviously, things take time, and real estate investing is not something that happens overnight. It certainly didn't happen overnight for me. It took me many, many years to get to where I'm at. It took me a ton of failure, a ton of trial and tribulation, and I pretty much had to get the rug pulled out from underneath me many, many times before I ever even got here or even remotely close to where we're at today. So if you're brand new to the real estate industry, I highly encourage that you get into the real estate industry. It is one of the best industries on the planet, and I get it. There's so many people talking about the stock market, talking about Bitcoin going to $300,000, talking about all of these crazy things like Walmart automation and Amazon automation and pretty much everything under the sun. But I promise you, add real estate investing to your portfolio and you won't regret it. Start small and eventually work your way up to where you too can become a millionaire through real estate investing. I really believe that it is one of those industries that anybody can do, and it's simply just a matter of time, energy, and ultimately anybody can do it. You look at books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you look at the 4 quadrants, and you look at the difference between the rich dad and the poor dad, and you will see how literally anybody can get into the industry and make it happen. So there you go, guys. That is my plan in 2021 to make about probably $6.2 or $6.3 million in real estate investing. And again, that is just the tip of the iceberg. So hopefully this video inspired you. If it did, I would really appreciate it if you would just smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Drop into the comment section down below what your plan is in 2021. If you're in real estate investing, if you're not, if you plan on getting into it, I would love to read every single comment, reply back to you guys, and see what it is that you guys are planning on doing. Also, if you haven't already, definitely check out my links in the description down below. I've got several links down there talking about how I get the distressed seller data that we get. We're doing a couple of giveaways with that, so definitely check that out. I also have a link down below to my brand new podcast. I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to that, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.